Hi and welcome back for another look at SweejTech Ambience. We've looked at how you would set up ambience volumes and scatter spots, and also how reverb would be applied for those volumes. And that would be the bread and butter implementation with some tweaks just to make it simple and streamlined. But today we're going to have a look at a part of the feature set called AreaTypes, which we can use to implement more behaviors that tie into the ambience that aren't necessarily the ambience themselves. So there's a lot you can do with this system. It's a simple system where you just, for each volume, you define an area type. And for this one, it's set in the ambience definition to field. For our project here, we're just testing with field, forest, urban, interior small, and interior large. And this is all set up in an enum asset which you can configure yourself. And so we'll jump to our first example here. We're by this forest lake, and we can hear some birds chirping every now and then. And as I enter this house, you can hear that they are still playing, but they are filtered. And as I go out, the filter opens up again. And we've done this in this case for, using AreaTypes. So in the wildlife metasound source, we're using a metasound interface called SweejTech Ambience Listener AreaType. So this gives you the AreaTypes, the primary and the secondary AreaType of the listener position. And this is what you can see up here in the debugger. So when I enter this house, you can see, interior small is the primary one, and the exterior field is the secondary one. It's a mix of 90 to 10%. You can also see it in the ambience inspector in the bottom left corner here. And yeah, similar to how the reverb was handled last week, it's a crossfading behavior based on the attenuation distance. So you can see if I select the wooden house ambience here, you can see when this weight increases, then the mix of interior small increases. And we're using max weight on this house to let a bit of the forest lake ambience and area type bleed in. So we're actually getting this mix now. If I increase this weight to max weight to 1, then we see that it's a full interior small mix. And you can see in the bottom left corner here, the ambience inspector, we also have the area types. So you can see that interior small is 3, and this is an enum configuration. So it's the name of the enum, which is of the enum value, which is interior small, and that has an index of 3. So when we go to the metasound, we get 3 here for interior small, and we would get 4 for interior large. That's just the way the enum goes. It goes 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So anything greater than 2, which is our final exterior value, that is considered an indoor or interior area, and that's when we want to filter the birds, essentially. There's a bit of an interpolation there that makes it not as instant. You can tweak that to your liking here, and that's the nice thing about the metasounds, is that you have all of this at your hands, so you can choose what behavior you want. Another use case where we tend to use AreaType is for weapon content. So if you've tried playing a weapons recording or an explosion through a reverb, you'll know it's a very messy result, quite noisy. So we are utilizing AreaType content for this. So if I fire in here, and by the lake it sounds different. We actually have different content for all of these areas, so I'll just teleport. So you can imagine that's a fair amount of setup to get that working. But I think we have a very neat solution here for the technical side of things. Of course, it's a lot of content that you need to craft, but in our weapons patch, this is what it looks like for the M16. If we zoom into the noise, which is what we're primarily hearing here with the area type changes. So if I just solo these two layers, we have two layers because we have a mix between the primary and the secondary. So if I save that, and then so this is the difference we're making between the different areas. So if I fire my weapon while moving out of this forest area, you'll hear as it crossfades towards the urban area. So that's just a very smooth behavior, and if we look at our weapon patch, this is the entire thing with the core, mech, noise, tail, and shells. We want to focus on the noise for this demonstration. So here we have two area type wave players. This is a patch that comes with the plugin, and what this one does, long story short, is that it gets the area type values from an area type preset, which is another asset type. So for our weapons, we've decided to have an array of wave assets for the noise, and then an amp value, pitch value, and delay time. And each of these values are per area type. So if we open our area type asset for noise, then you can see this grid view. So we have a default value for any new area types. If you want to create new ones later down the project, then you will use this. For each area now, the values are tweaked for amp, pitch, and delay with a list of noise content for each. So these all have their own noise content, and in the meta sound, when we trigger a shot, it checks the primary ID, and if it sets 0, which is exterior field, then it will output this array and these values into this patch. And that's the entire implementation for switching noise content based on area types. Now you might also have noticed that we are changing the shells that fall to the ground, depending on if you are interior or exterior. This is a very simplified implementation to use as an example. We just have an isInterior parameter. So this is another area type preset where we simply set isInterior, and for each field we set a boolean, true or false. So this is what you could do if this wasn't a sorted list, like before I showed with the birds, where we just say greater than 2. This is a bit more explicit. So we use that here, and then we just switch which shells are falling to the ground, if it's the interior or the exterior. And there you have it. That's a quick look at our area type implementation. Thanks for watching.